Hey kids, welcome to another episode of GLEN YAPS. We are enjoying the partial lockdown once again. 3 times is the charm? No, I don't think so. Well, during all this mess, you have to figure out some wonderful things to do, and I have lots of hobbies. Oops, just got to fix this camera a little bit. I like building model cars, songwriting, learning musical instruments, and I'm never bored. I always have something to do at home. This video is mainly about songwriting and a quick rundown on how I got into it. I've done some videos in the past about it, but I'll just kind of touch base with it again. Songwriting for me is just a wonderful escape. I can sit in a chair with a guitar and write ideas for hours and hours and hours. The time flies. I don't even realize 3 hours have gone by, and I'm just totally focused on creating music or little riffs or ideas. Even when I write lyrics, I have a little logbook that I carry with me, and I write lyrics. Whenever I have a phrase that pops into my head, I'll write it down and try and work on it and expand on it. I always try and keep a record of the ideas I have. And two of the devices I use, if it's a guitar-based idea, I can record the audio. I started doing videos of recording my ideas because sometimes I forget how I actually played it, and it takes less time for me to actually see how I played it rather than to listen to it. I know that sounds kind of goofy for experienced guitar players, but for me, being a drummer who does play guitar and other instruments but not as proficient as you might, I find the recall on some of that stuff a little bit tricky. And even some of the drum parts, I'll do a video just to get an idea of a recall of how I did a part. Because I practice so much and enjoy it so much that I've always got ideas in recording, and so it's just sometimes for me hard to bring that back into my memory. Anyways, one of the items I use is this, a Zoom video recorder. This is the Q2 HD. This thing is been replaced by, I think, 1 or 2 models. So this one is deleted, like it's no longer available. But you can find it used fairly cheap, and the sound quality is phenomenal on this. Picture quality isn't up to what your cell phones are, but the advantage of this is you can set all the parameters for the audio, and the video. So you don't have to use the highest quality just for all these ideas you have. So the files, you can bring them down to a smaller size, which is perfect for storing your ideas on a computer, or even burning them to a CD if that's what you choose. I basically take all my song ideas, dump them into a computer, sometimes relabel them, group them. Like some ideas there might be 6 ideas for a particular song, so you want those ideas to stay together. Or you label them as whatever, you might have a rough draft title for the project, and you just keep them all together. But anyways, this video one, you can put it on a camera tripod and just put it near you. It's got 3 microphones, 3 or 4 microphones. I think 3 microphones in here. So it picks up audio, fantastic. Video, perfect for just your basic everyday kind of videos. Like I say, compared to a cell phone nowadays and GoPros, this would be lesser quality. It's still high definition, but just a smaller size. So that's one to recommend. Price wise, now you can probably find them dirt cheap. I bought that brand new, and I think it was $100 and something at the time. That's by Zoom, by the way. Another Zoom product is this. This is the H2 handy recorder. All this does is audio, but it's fantastic. Again, you've got compression and other effects to help record drums, because drums are usually something that explode on some of these smaller devices like phones and stuff, because they're high volume and they have a lot of pressure when the sound is when you hit the drums, when the sound is released. So this records fantastic for drums. I've recorded band practice. Just turn it on, it will record the entire night of a performance or a whole night of band practice. It's fantastic. I bought this in a pawn shop for $20, and it came with the power supply. I recommend the power supply. Although this little recorder runs on batteries, it will last a long time. Anything with video and batteries, forget it. They usually eat them up. So I recommend a power supply for the other video camera I just showed you. This, you can get away with the batteries and it still works fantastic. Again, you just dump all the audio tracks that you make onto your computer and sort them and log them in a type of order that makes it easy to manage. I've recorded most of my originals in the last, I'd say, 10 to 15 years with this for ideas. Before that, I'd run them into my computer with this whole bunch of different wires, and it was a bit of a pain in the ass. In the old days, we used to record on cassette. I've converted all my old cassette music ideas to digital, and I will never play cassettes ever again. I can't stand them. I've always hated them. I just never want to go back to cassettes. You might get good sound quality, but just finding songs on a cassette is just the worst. Can't stand it. Time consuming. I spent more time fast forward, rewind, trying to find songs, ideas. No more. Never going back to it. This is so much easier. It's a life-saving thing for songwriters. So that's what I use, those two things. Also, when you're working on songs, it's always good to have a metronome or some type of device. I'll try and remember at the end of this video to show what I use. I use two devices when I'm songwriting. Real simple drum machine type things. They're software based. They're totally free. One is an online only thing. The other one is a download. They're very similar products, but not by the same manufacturer. So anyways, why I got into songwriting? Well, it was pretty simple. I was a drummer, and when you're in a band as a drummer, it's hard to get your creative input into the band's, and if they're doing original music, it's hard to get input into how a song goes. To say I was a frustrated drummer for most of my drumming career is an understatement. I tried to throw my 2 cents in with the odd band that was doing original material, but it's like their ears shut off. They think that because you're a drummer, you're illiterate to how a song should be written. And because I grew up in a house full of musicians, which is my parents and my brother and sisters, I was aware of all aspects of music. I was the only drummer, but I grew up with guitar players, singers, piano players. So it was really frustrating. Back in the early 80s, I was playing in cover bands, and most of the bands didn't want to even try original material. But I continued to try and write my own songs. My father had an acoustic at home, and so I wrote songs on it. And you try and present them to the band, and the band, don't want to touch that. So I just kept logging these songs and recorded them, and still have all that stuff. To present day, I still have all that stuff stored away and converted to digital. So as I got older, I really wanted to get into original material. So I used to start make cassette tapes and shop them around. I would put an ad in the paper. I don't know if many people saw the ads, but I used to put them in every other month. I would put, anybody wanting to write original material, give me a call, and I would give them a cassette, and got minimal response. One band that I did connect with, we ended up writing a lot of weird but fun, super prog rock stuff in the very early 80s. And I loved it. I loved every part of it. The problem we had was we couldn't find a full band of musicians that would be into it. We always suffered from bass players that didn't want to do original material. We couldn't find anybody wanting to do original material. And we were together 2 years. I still have a lot of that song on reel-to-reel tape, and I've transferred them to digital also, but still kept the reels. Very, very obscure, fun stuff you won't hear on the radio. And then once that band finished, I couldn't find any other bands to want to do original material for years and years. It was just horrible. So what I started doing in that time was learning how to play musical instruments myself. I was always a drummer from the beginning, since 1977. What I did is I learned how to play bass throughout that first original band's existence that I mentioned. And that band was called Thans's Coal. Very strange name, but Thans's Coal was the band. And that opened my eyes to so much. It opened my eyes to not just shooting for the hit record. It's just expressing your ideas in song and not worrying about the hit record. But it also got me into other instruments. So at that time I started playing bass, and I remember even guitar. I bought an acoustic guitar, and I bought a beat up old electric, and the electric guitar and the electric bass I had back then were just junk. They were just junk, but they made noise that I could do songwriting with. The acoustic was a decent one. And all those ideas I still have today, and still I've worked them into different complete songs. So I made these tapes and would shop them around, and people would just laugh at them. Musicians would just laugh. You'd hand it to them, they'd sound interested, and as soon as you walk away, they would just laugh. They had no interest in them. And you know what? That's the problem with musician mentality. They just don't see a vision that this is the raw roots of a song. Can we build it into something way better? when I was given these tapes, this was like not the finished product. This is the idea. Do you want to be part of it to expand? And then we'll write some other stuff too, as a partnership. But no, it was like a big joke to them. So it pissed me off, and it was discouraging. But I'm not a quitter. So what happened is, I said, okay, well, screw this. I'm just going to learn the instruments myself and just continue to create. And it wasn't until maybe, I'd say 10, 15 years ago that I found one person, his name's Tony, that connected on the same level of wanting to do originals, no matter what they sounded like, but just to have a creative flow documented in recordings. And the thing with us was we have no end to ideas. In fact, our ideas, they started stacking up so much that finishing projects, complete recordings and stuff of the songs was actually getting difficult. It was like, well, here's all our ideas stacked, like we're talking, hundreds of stuff. And we were kind of slow on finishing the project. We originally had a full band, but they really didn't want to do the original stuff. They wanted to go out and play live and have the audience sing. That was what they wanted to do the most. And original stuff was just like a fun side thing, but now it wasn't fun anymore. It was getting too serious. So Tony and I ended up writing, recording, and doing all the instruments. Tony would do vocal sometimes, play bass sometimes. He didn't do drums or that kind of thing. And for me, I would do the guitar some parts, would do the bass, keyboards, obviously all the drums, percussion. So it was basically, do you want to do this part? And he would say yes, or said, can you do this part? And we would trade off on certain things. And it worked, and it's been fantastic. So it just took decades to find somebody like that. With all that said, I still love doing my own thing, because I do write really obscure music sometimes, and I just like to see how many parts I can come up with to make a song work, and capture all these ideas. During this last lockdown, I've got probably 25 songs, and we've only been in lockdown for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. Excuse me. So I got all these parts, and now I'm just putting them all together into songs and trying to figure out, okay, I've got all the guitar parts, now I've got to worry about the bass parts. I always have a hard time coming up with drum parts to my own songs, because my guitar side of my brain does not favor my drum sides. So it's like I come up with some really obscure odd times signatures, and so my drum side has to adjust to that. And same with rhythmically, guitar wise, I play chicken finger style playing, so I like drone notes and counter melodies, so that makes it tricky for bass guitar to fit in. So I kind of shoot myself in the foot a little bit, because it takes time to plan the other instruments that go with the guitar. I don't know how to say that, but my friend Tony always says, every instrument has a space where it fits, and you don't want too much interference from the other instruments in each of these instruments' space. I don't know if that makes sense, but like you don't want keyboard parts playing the same type of part as you're picking guitar picking, or you don't want rhythm keyboards to be the same in the same melody or sound zones as the guitar rhythms, because they start to cancel each other out, where it becomes redundant. It's like, well, I hear the keyboard but I don't hear the guitar player, but they're playing the same thing, so why are we having two instruments fight for that same space? Anyways, that's the scoop. So during the lockdown, that's all I've been doing, writing little tidbits. As you can see, one of my amps is upstairs right now because I've been writing so much now that I need an amp upstairs and one downstairs and a guitar up and down. So where I am comfortable upstairs, I can write and record, and same with downstairs. So the amp I use the most for songwriting upstairs is a little Vox amp. It's one of those modeling amps. It's got all the bells and whistles, and I use my G&L Telly upstairs, and I'll bring that downstairs too. I'm using a Schecter right now, what they call a Schecter Classic C1, I think. This is a great guitar for hard rock, and I don't really write heavy metal. I write more prog rock. Well, there's lots of parts in there, and the song really goes on a journey. So, but that gets the heavy stuff. I got other guitars too that I play around with. Using this Vox right now. This is one of the later additions to my collection. You should be able to see this in the video. My standards, my 60s Super Reverb, and I believe that Tweed amp there is early 90s. And yeah, and I've got a bunch of other amps too that I play around with sounds. But just for songwriting right now, that's what I use. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what I use just for my drum ideas. Let's hold on here. Turn the rig on. Hopefully it's all right. So the drum machine software I use down here is a standalone product, and it's called Hydrogen. It's free online. The one I use upstairs is an online only program. So you go to its site. It's called Drumbit. You go to its site, you click on it, up pops the drum machine, and you can set it the way you want. You can actually, if you come up with the beats you like, you can save it as a WAV file, put it into your software. You can use it in your song if you want. The one upstairs, I've never tried editing too much of the drum sounds. I think I use a jazz drum setting. It appeals to me the most. A lot of these free software things have horrible drum sounds, but they usually have one or two that's good enough for songwriting. And the same with the one I use down here. I'm just going to open this up for you and show you what Hydrogen looks like. Okay, I'm just going to change the camera, and my hands are going to shake, so I'm going to try and anchor this camera just a little bit. And we'll tilt this back. Hopefully you can see that. So it's really simple. You basically have your sound library of kits right here. You only get 2 kits when you download the program. but you just go hydrogen drum sets online and you can find people that have made their own kits. So I've added a few in there. So basically, if you just want to loop a drum beat, let's turn it up a bit. You make your patterns in this little 4-bar area. You can take out parts. Just by clicking the little dots. Add your kick. And you can save this pattern and recall it at any time. You can do some editing to each instrument. So a kick drum and a snare are each an instrument. There's toms, hi-hats, cymbals. So you can change the pitch. You can add attack, compression, that kind of thing. This particular drum set has 2 different kick drum sounds, 7 snares. You can see over here. A bunch of toms, cross stick, hi-hats, open hi-hats, ride cymbals, ride bells, splash cymbals, lots of stuff. You can hear it all. I'm using my cursor mouse button to trigger these right now. That's not a bad bell sound for... Crash cymbals always suck in electronics, but you're only doing it to keep a pattern while you write your idea. You're not going to really use these for your final drum track, but you can. I'm going to try and create my own drum sets and see if I can improve on some of these. Like, those drums sound pretty good for what they are. You can hear the pitch nice. So, and some of the snares. That's a little shitty, but one kick is here, and the other one. It's got a little more attack on the beater, where this is a little more of a, if you were to mic just the front of the drum. This one is like a little bit in mic inside and one on the outside. It's got a little bit of click to it. So anyways, this program is absolutely free. It's called Hydrogen. They have it for various platforms. I'm running 64-bit Windows computers upstairs and downstairs. This computer system down here is not on the internet. I don't want it on the internet. I don't want any problems with hacking or any problems to do with connecting to the internet that might screw up the entire rig. This rig is totally independent and totally independent from any outside interference. This is strictly computer in my control room. That's it. So I need to download software that I can use offline, and this is the one drum machine that was free. I like free. Good enough for me. So when I turn it on, I just turn my guitar rig on, and I've got both going at the same time. And I use my Zoom recorder, any ideas I want, and go from there. You can do so much more with this program. There's different time signatures. You can subdivide the notes to get even more in-depth type drum beats. Like I've got that set to 16th notes, but you can go 64ths and really get some funky jazz type fusion beats going. And you can enter as many patterns as you want across each lane, pattern 1. So if you write a song that has, maybe, verses, 3 verses, 2 choruses, and a bridge, and you want different drumming for all those parts, you can create each drum pattern here and enter it up there in any number you want. Right now, we're in that first bar where 1 is. You can have that go for so long, and then put the second beat you come up, add it for your choruses and your bridge, your lead breaks. It's so simple, this program. I haven't really looked too much into what else it does, because for me it's just a basic songwriting tool. Sorry about the camera noise here. It's hard to move this around. It's hard to move a camera around and talk and not smash into things and not aim right. So the one upstairs is called Drum Bit, and I'll tag a little video on the end of this with that, and that way you can find it online. So that's the scoop. I know there's a lot of people kind of depressed and not knowing, where this stupid world is going with this virus, COVID bullshit. But you know what? You got to find some things to do. It's not so much ignoring what's going on, but you can still have that in the back of your mind and worry a little bit. I'm not one to worry about things like that. We're all going to die. There's nothing that's going to stop that. So it doesn't matter to me where your time frame of biting the bullet is. You can't live crying and in fear. You just can't do that. That is not a life to let that bother you. We're all going to die, so you're going to be crying and screaming at some point. If you're that type of person, death is inevitable. You can't avoid it. Hands up. Is there anybody that's avoided it yet? No. So it's coming. You just can't worry about it. You have to enjoy life up until that time. So for me, I don't worry about it. It sits over there. I have tons of fun stuff to do here. And I really don't care if anybody hears my music. The joy for me is to get all these parts and create music. I just like to see if I can do it and what I come up with. My wife is a listener. If she was the only listener, I'm happy with that. I do put stuff online, and most of the time, if you put stuff online, they criticize it anyway. So they're not enjoying it. They're too busy trying to find flaws in it, which is fine. That doesn't bother me either. So I still put stuff online, and if people, listen to it, great. If they don't like it, that's fine too. This is strictly about personal enjoyment, and if I can do it or not. So I have this fighting nature to always try and get to the finish line. I want to complete stuff, and that's what songwriting is all about. Don't be discouraged that some assholes don't like your stuff. Every music artist goes through that. If you think about the millions of people in the world and how little really records sell, a million copies of something, you have to think, wow, that sounds like a lot. Sure, it sounds like a lot, but if you think about the world population, you're not even putting a dent in it. So you can't worry about that sort of thing. You have to do it in the sense that you enjoy it for your own personal benefit. I know when I was younger, I didn't understand that. I was frustrated that people didn't want to be part of it. But now that I create my own music and with my own abilities on these instruments, and I'm not saying I'm accomplished on guitar or bass, but I know them enough to at least get songs complete that I know at least I've accomplished something. And I can't worry about if people like the stuff or not. I've also learned from some of the interviews with the Beatles and the Monkees and a lot of these bands from the 60s that someone at some place in time and somewhere on the planet, one person will like that song. And that's all that counts, really. It's like, if you like it and maybe one other person, you've accomplished your goal, partial goal. If the public is your focus. I mean, a lot of those bands, they wanted to make it. See, I'm not out to write songs to make it. It's just strictly pure enjoyment. I would love to score music in an independent film. That's always been in the back of my mind. Just to see a movie scene, and then have my music be the background for that would be awesome. I would love to do that. But I'm not going out to search for that. If somebody hears my music online and goes, well, that might be something interesting to put in a movie, that'd be great. Because, I mean, it's something I've never done before, so it's a challenge. So that would be an interesting journey to try. But it's not my top priority. Right now it's just to write songs, have fun, get better on the instruments I play. And I find the funny part about the instrument side of things is when I'm songwriting, I'm playing more guitar than ever, but I find it a bit of a struggle to maintain, because it always goes in sporadic steps. It's not like when you write a song, you're going to play that song forever and ever. No, I've come across this issue, that I wrote a song maybe 20 years ago. It's hard for me to remember that song because I don't play it every day. Whereas when you're in a cover band, you're playing those songs all the time. But see, when you're writing originals, once it's done, you never touch it again. It's recorded and you have it documented, and on rare occasions you might bring it up, but it's been tricky to go back and listen to those songs and try and play some of the old stuff. And even with my writing partner, when we're doing music in our Flat Stanley band project, I drummed to those songs when we first created them. The drum tracks are the first thing down on a few of them, and I haven't played those drum parts since then. So it's tricky to go back and try and remember the feel you had, the intensity, the parts. So that's a little bit what's the term, enlightening. So anyways, that's the scoop, folks. So you have to find a hobby with this lockdown. You can't just sit in your room and go insane. There are lots of hobbies out there. Learn to play guitar, learn to play bass, learn to play drums, although drums can drive you insane and your neighbor's insane. But they have electronic drums that will get you through without killing people. A lot of people get into acoustic guitars before electric. Let me tell you, I find acoustic very hard to play. It doesn't do what I want to do when it comes to guitar, and I don't mean in sounds. I mean, although that is part of it. I just find electric guitar is easier on the fingers to press, and I got more advanced playing electric guitar than I did acoustic. I found acoustic to start off with. At times I wanted to just hit it with a hammer. It wasn't until later years, when my fingers were all developed and calloused up, that I could play acoustic without wanting to strangle the neck on the thing and smash it over some rocks. Yeah, acoustic I found a very, very frustrating instrument. I'm learning violin too. I find that very frustrating because vibrato with guitar is this way for me, up and down on the fretboards, with the strings this way. But violin, the vibrato is vibratoing opposite direction. It's like learning to walk again. So that part is annoying. I also learned to chicken pick with these two fingers and a little bit with the pinky. So I've had to put false nails. I make my own nails. I glue them on, sand them down, glue them. Just on these two fingers, I hold the pick and chicken pick with these fingers. The pinky one, for some reason, doesn't break, but the other two always break, so I had to come up with some strengthening, so that's what I do. I make my own fingernails. That's another thing that's frustrating. I found just picking across the 6 strings on a guitar was really getting annoying when I first started, because I couldn't get the hand. I know some guitar players find this easy, but for me, I found it hard to go across 6 strings and nail the right area of where I wanted to go all the time. I was hitting so many wrong notes, and I'm still like that. So I have to figure out a way to advance myself faster without wanting to smash the guitar into a million pieces, and be able to get across the strings without having to look. I don't like having to look at my picking hand, and I find when I'm just playing guitar pick, I always have to look down to make sure, oh, am I hitting the 4th string or the 2nd string or whatever. But when I chicken pick, I anchor my palm, and I can easily skip my fingers across the strings and know where I am. I don't know if that's how guitar players do it, but that's how I do it. And I found once I started chicken picking, I started advancing in leaps and bounds more than I could ever do with just playing a pick up and down. I still play that way with the pick, but I do have the other fingers in there. And I will probably never be a solid pick guitar player like, Jimmy Page or all those guys. Here's the other thing too. I don't learn cover songs on guitar. At the time, I didn't want any outside influence of songs in my playing for writing originals. I wanted to be able to learn chords. I've got chord books and chord charts and the scales, and I wanted to be able to just learn how to play those and develop my own, I'm going to say style. I don't know if I'm advanced. I'm not that advanced to say I have a style yet, but just my own way of creating songs using the chords I've learned. So that's been a challenge, but that one's been a fun challenge. I enjoyed that, not being influenced by others. I mean, some people ask me to go play guitar with them. I go, I don't know any cover songs. I couldn't even get through, most songs. So it just wasn't in my DNA to do that. I can do that on bass and do that on drums, but guitar I can't. I'm strictly doing guitar to write songs. Same with piano. Piano is the same. I don't know cover songs. Like when I write a song on guitar and I have the idea down and I put it into my computer and I go, okay, well, I need a keyboard part for that. I just run over to the keyboard over here that's sitting there, and I turn it on and I hear the guitar parts coming through the speakers here, and all I do is, okay, I'm going to do my searching for the right thing to go with it, and that's my keyboard playing. I'm not out to play Bach, and I definitely, not out to be Jimmy Page. I got into those instruments to write songs, not to become a great guitar player or a great piano player. I want to get as good as I can get on these instruments just to make my songwriting happen faster. But I don't have any dreams or goals of being Jimmy Page or Eric Johnson or David Grissom, although David Grissom is one of my favorite guitar players. That guy's melodies on guitar are just mind-blowing. I would love to be able to play like him, but it's just it's a reality check. That's not going to happen. Anyways, so that's the scoop. Don't be frustrated. Pick up an instrument, have fun. Write songs. The world needs more songs. Believe me, I find a lot of stuff online, the music and on the radio today I can't listen to. It's so processed, it's so generic. I hear the same song written with a different title and a different band, but it's the same song. It's just horrible. Why would anybody want to write songs that sound like 50 other bands? I never understood that, and even when I was doing covers with the bands, it's like I don't want to do songs that all sound alike. I want to be able to do a wide variety of stuff. You can do some dance stuff, you do some prog rock stuff, you do a whole gambit of stuff, and entertain a bigger group of an audience rather than one basic style of audience. So my original material is all over the place. I don't stick to, I'm going to write metal all day long. I don't do that. I got country, I've got rock, I got prog rock, I got a couple of metal style ones, but they're not in, none of them are in the locked into one format. I find that boring. If you're a musician, you got to be able to play all stuff. You got to tap into it all. I mean, you can't be a snob. You can't be, oh, I'm not going to do that shit. I'm not going to do country. Oh, like, come on. There's so much. You can take little bits of all that stuff, merge it into one of your originals, and it's like, wow. You get a country song that has a jazz bass with some heavy metal style guitar, and it sounds really interesting. You got to be able to open your mind. So, anyways, I rambled a little too long on this one. So I will show you the drum bit video upstairs and a quick, just the other drum machine program. Thanks for listening, everybody. Sorry that went a little long, and appreciate it that people do watch the videos going into this new year 2022. Who knows where we're going to be, but I'm going to be definitely writing songs. Peace. Okay, we're going to show you the drum bit program. It's free. You don't have to download it. It's actually a website. Drum bit. Basically, you just click on whenever you want to put a part, then take it out if you don't want it. You got tempos. You can change the feel. I'm using a jazz drum set, but there's other drum sets. Just turn it on. It's not loud enough, you just turn it up. I'll add a kick. Pretty basic. Like I say, it's free. There's online tuners for your guitar. So you tune your guitar for free with the online tuner. It's on Fender, the Fender guitar site. And you use drum bits to write your songs. And like I showed you in the video, you use your Zoom recorder to record, or you can record on your computer also. I just find it so much easier just to have a handy type pocket recorder that you can carry with you, you know, or it's just easy. You just set it up quick, away you go. You don't have to rely on the computer or the internet. Alright folks, thanks for watching.